Welcome to Sweethearts or Rivals. I'm Charla.
I'm Justin.
What's on our table today?
Granja.
Granja is a game that plays 1 to 4 players. It can take you 120 minutes, and they recommend that you can play it with people aged 12 and up.
Yeah.
The copy we have is published by Stronghold Games.
So what do you think of the components of Granja?
I think the components of Granja are excellent quality.
Yes, very much so.
The cards aren't the thickest cardstock, but they're not cards that you're shuffling a lot.
Yeah.
And really, they have to be skinny because they go under these boards.
Yeah.
And it would be tricky if they were really thick or if they were really textured.
True.
Because they wouldn't slide under the boards as well.
True.
They do slide under the boards a little tricky though. Because most of the time when you put one card under, you're messing up your whole farm.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
Yeah. I've read people talking about Granja online, how a lot of people will take the player boards and augment them with something to put just underneath so you don't have to lift up your board, and then you can just slide stuff in and out, and it's supposed to make it a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
I do find, however, that the cards are just a little tiny bit too big, or the player boards are just a tiny little bit too small because
they're bumping into each other.
Yeah.
Underneath.
Which is also a bummer.
Yeah.
So, a little tiny gripe, not much.
Nope. And all the punches are standard punch weight.
Mm-hmm.
And they come with these nice wooden pieces.
Yep.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
I like wooden pieces.
Yep.
It comes with wooden dice though. So if you don't like wooden dice.
Wooden dice are awesome.
Yeah, we're in the we like wooden dice camp.
Yep.
But some people don't like wooden dice.
Hmm.
But I like that the wooden dice have rounded corners and they're really rolly.
Yeah.
So to me that makes them feel a little bit more random.
Yeah. They bounce well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
As far as the art's concerned, I find it a little yellow.
Yes.
Like, I wish the colors weren't quite as monotone.
Mm-hmm.
I wish it was just a little bit brighter, maybe, so the things would pop a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because I found when we were doing our playthrough, like, when you looked on the screen, like, this kind of all seemed to blend in. So what do you think about the strategery, which we lump in the strategy, tactics, and luck?
It's a very interesting blend. Of course, the cards are going to be random, and especially in a 2-player game, you don't go through a lot of the cards.
No.
So even once you get used to the cards, you still have no idea what's actually going to come out.
And the thing about these cards is they can do all the different things.
Yeah.
Because they're either going to go on this side of your board or on that side,
Mm-hmm.
or they're going to be
Market barrows.
or they're going to be special abilities.
Yep.
So they each do 4 different things.
Yeah.
So it's not like every time you see that one certain card, it's going to be that memorable because you're going to use it for something different in each game.
Yep. Which helps for the replayability quite a bit,
Mm-hmm.
which is awesome. Other than that, there's not a lot of randomness. Of course, you're going to be rolling the dice, and that's going to determine what kind of things you can take during the dice phase. And when you're playing a 2-player game, there's only 5 dice, and sometimes things just never come up.
Yeah.
So in the playthrough, I think the 4 came up like once,
And
money was tight.
it is.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I was going to say about the game. Like, every time you roll those dice, it's going to change how you have to play the game quite a bit from game to game.
Yeah.
Depending on, like you said, if the money never comes up,
Mm-hmm.
then that can be an issue.
Yeah. And we played games where just tons and tons of 4s came up, and we just had tons and tons of cash at all times.
Mm-hmm.
So, because of the card and the dice play, that little bit of randomness, it becomes very tactical.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there's a lot of kind of player-based tactics, because what die are you going to take, which means what die am I going to take? Who's going to go first in placing out their markets, which is going to influence or affect what I get to place out, especially when you get into this little tiny area control section and you're knocking the other players off.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great. The thing with the multi-use cards is the first couple times you play, you can kind of get swept up in the multi-use cards and their special powers.
Mm-hmm.
But really, there's only 3 slots for helpers. A lot of them are one-time only. And you really want to be careful and not taking a helper for some special ability that does not go into your long-term strategy planning.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can get caught up in it and then never really use it.
But also, there's a lot of those one-time use ones,
Yep.
and you can remove them as well.
Yeah.
So you could just make that your strategy, like I'm going to use all these one-time use ones.
If you use one-use powers, go towards what your strategy is.
Yeah.
Because I have gotten swept up in those one-use cards and then got myself trounced because I wasn't using my cards for building up my engine to get the market done. And the market is where most of your points are coming from. And as soon as I figured that out and then started focusing on using my cards for the market barrows or for getting a nice engine of things going so that I could get the other markets done, once I figured that out, I started getting much better scores. With, again, that first round of cards you get to play too, if you got something in there that can kind of inform what your strategy could be, that's what you do it for. Very nice kind of balance between getting stuff done right away or kind of waiting to get stuff done, which is kind of cool, especially with the markets on the outer ring, because if you get them right away, you don't get that many points. So if you get one in round 1, you only get 1 point for it. But you get the tile that gives you a one-shot bonus and then a bonus every round for the rest of the game. As compared to later on, if you get something done in round 6, you're getting 6 points, but you're only going to get that benefit maybe once.
Or maybe not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that balance.
Yeah, very nice balance. I like that quite a bit. The other thing, too, in the balance is with the stalls is if you get a whole bunch of stuff in right away, but you don't place it strategically, someone can come in with a stall that's a higher number and knock a whole bunch of your stalls out. But if you can place them strategically so you can keep your stalls in there, they're generating points every round.
Right.
So it's a really great balance of, do I go all in early or late or a little bit of both? Really well done. So what about the complexity of La Granja?
Well, because it has multi-use cards, I was a little bit nervous. Because generally I find multi-use cards a little overwhelming.
Too many options?
Right.
Yeah.
One option sometimes with those cards is not obviously the best one.
Yeah.
But like I could have a whole hand of like Olive Gardens. So I know for sure I can like just have to ignore those. And then I just have 3 things for each card to figure out.
Yep.
So it does make it a little bit easier that way. Which I appreciate.
Yeah. And a lot of the special helper powers are one-offs. And if that one-off special power does not help your strategy,
yeah, you can
then that's obviously
that
out.
Too.
Yeah.
Which
and then
nice.
Even building onto your farm extensions, every time you add an extension, it's going to cost 1 more resource, and you can't just spend $3 for your 3rd farm extension. It has to be 3 different resources. So you're never really going to expand your farm a crazy amount.
No, because sometimes you just don't have all those different kind of things to spend.
Yeah.
So you can dismiss that too.
Exactly. So, and of course, most of your points are going to come from your market barrows, so most of your cards are just going to be market barrows.
Right.
So again, really nice that there's the multi-use cards and they work really well without being overwhelming.
Right. I think the complexity of the game comes in placing your market stalls out.
Yep.
And also, I find it a little confusing because there's a lot of free actions you can take.
Yeah.
And sometimes I forget to take them at the most opportune time.
Yeah.
Which can be a little bit frustrating, but I think with more practice, I'll get better at it.
Yeah.
As far as how difficult the game is, though, I would have to say it's probably a mid-weight game.
Yeah, I was actually surprised. Everything I watched on it, I felt like it was going to be heavier. Not super heavy, but heavier than what it actually is.
Right.
Yeah.
It's true. And I like how the setup is so easy for a 2-player game.
Yeah.
Because sometimes with these sort of games, the 2-player variant or the 2-player rules, it's like pages of how to set up.
Yeah, drastically different.
Basically, like you each get 2 dice plus 1 is how many dice you play with.
Mm-hmm.
And then you block off some stalls, which we use the blue pieces there.
Yep.
And that's pretty much it for 2-player rules, right?
And we don't have to go through the rule book to see which market stalls get blocked off because there's a little tiny X right on them.
Right.
So that's easy. Yeah, which is nice. And it tightens up that middle section of the market stall board perfectly so that in a 2-player game, it's still a tense area control for that middle area.
Yeah.
Which is nice, because if it wasn't tense, it would be boring.
You're right. Yeah.
Right on.
So what do you think about the playability?
Playability. A lot of the mechanisms are very cool and thematic. Building onto your house with lots of roofs to get little bonuses. I love being able to take and deliver stuff to the different marketplaces in order to get an ongoing bonus and kind of build up an engine. I think that's awesome. And again, all the cards have these multi-use, which is kind of, again, going to build up a bit of an engine that's going to inform the rest of your strategy. All very thematic. Some of the stuff is a little bit off, like suddenly there's a bunch of dice and there's just random stuff that you're just going to get, but maybe those are people who owe you favors?
Could be.
I don't know, but it works. As for scalability with number of players, we haven't played it with more than 2, but simply taking these markers off for more players is going to open up the board so it's not quite so tight. There's still that race to get your markets done first for the bonuses to build up your engine and get the bonus points. So I can see it scaling pretty well with number of players. And a lot of the stuff that you're doing is kind of simultaneous play. So in the very first phase, you're going to play a card. Everybody's at the same time.
Right.
And the rest of the phases are really quick. So I don't think it's going to add a ton of time to the game as well.
It shouldn't.
No.
It says an hour or up to 2 hours.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure our games are around about an hour.
Yeah.
We'll see when we edit it, but...
Yeah. And that's another thing is the game length, which 2 hours, and it doesn't seem to take that much. It seems like if it went any longer, it might be a bit too much.
Right.
And if it was any shorter, it wouldn't be enough. The designer seemed to have gotten it into that perfect amount of time to get a good engine going, achieve some really good stuff, and then the game is over before it gets stale.
Right.
Yeah, which is really well done. And finally, for replayability, the fact that there are so many of these cards and they're multi-use, so you're never going to be using them for the exact same thing over and over again, means that there's a lot of replayability. Especially in a 2-player game where there's not a lot of them that are going to come out in the course of a game, means you're going to be discovering new cards all the time, which is excellent. Right on.
I agree.
So, does La Granja have the awesomeness or the cuteness?
I think this game is more awesome than cute.
Yeah.
And I think it's, number one, the art is just... It's excellent art, and it goes with the theme of the game.
Yep.
It's not the cutest art, though.
True.
And it's just, I think, because it's such a monotone, farming kind of art.
True.
And also, you have to make your picks into pork chops, which that's difficult for, some people.
Yep. I think it is a really clever design where we're using these pieces here for everything. But I think people would find it cuter if you had little pig meeples and little wine bottles and stuff.
It's true, yeah.
But holy cow, would that add a whole lot more resources.
It would.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Because each player would have to have so many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that would be cute, but very clever to avoid that, and it makes the cost of the game so much less than it could have been. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
So you've got a game group, and they're looking for a game, and they say to you, what about La Granja?
First thing I would say is, do you want a solo game? Because La Granja can be played solo.
There you go.
I have not played it solo, but it's possible, which is kind of neat. Your game group is going to want to enjoy dice drafting, multi-use cards, kind of a pick-up and delivery style engine building game. And, of course, they're going to want that medium weight game that doesn't take too long to play. If they're looking for a lighter game, there is another version of La Granja coming out in late 2016 called La Granja No Siesta.
It's a dice game.
Yeah.
That focuses more on the dice mechanisms.
Yep. So definitely more of a dice drafting version, but much lighter. So that's also going to be available.
And that's all we know about it, because that's all we read about it on the Board Game Geek.
That's correct.
But it sounds kind of cool, actually.
Yeah. Excellent. So, La Granja, are we trading it or keeping it? We're probably going to keep it. Yes. Yeah.
I like it a lot more, actually, than I thought I was going to.
Yeah.
And I knew I was going to like it because of the type of game generating your resources to fill your orders and then to do the area control in the middle.
Yeah.
I always like those kind of games. Yeah. But I was just a little nervous about those multi-use cards.
Gotcha.
So I actually like it a lot.
Yeah, me too. I like it a lot. I enjoy dice drafting. I enjoy multi-use cards. I enjoy engine building, and all three of them are just the perfect amount to blend together without being overwhelming, which is awesome. The only thing I was worried about was the area control aspect, but the area control aspect is, again, just enough and just tight enough to be a perfect blend with everything else. So definitely going to be keeping this. Can't see this going ever. Did we finish La Granja as Sweethearts or Rivals? We finished as Rivals. Yeah.
Especially when you kicked me out of all those market stalls.
That was awesome.
Not awesome.
Awesome for me. Yeah, and it's just the perfect length to really get into that engine building, and again, just enough area control to make it really rivalry, without it being a completely solo game, which is really awesome.
And it's funny because I'll just tell a little story about when we were counting points for one of our very first games, because they're hidden points and you can keep them hidden.
Yeah.
And like you had told me what you had or something, or you counted them out, and then I was counting mine right slow, like 10, 20, 30, 40, and I don't know what you had. Let's just say you had 55 points. So I was like 50, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's like, we tied? 56.
The 1 point win.
It's always the best.
It is the best. That is always awesome. Yeah, so that is La Granja.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks a lot.
We'll see you in the next video.
Laters.
So you've got a game group looking for a game, and they say to you, what about La Granja?
We might even be mispronouncing it. Maybe it's not La Granja.
I looked it up on the YouTube, and I put in how do you say La Granja, and it said
La Granja.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.